On today's episode of Phinside The NFL, the 2025 Miami Dolphins NFL schedule just dropped. The social media team just dropped the video. We're going to react to it together. Let's go. Also, we're going to talk about what Chop and Devon Achane had to say today, as it seems we might be in the midst of a culture change, and we've already talked about this before. That's why they're bringing the young cats in. We'll talk about that and so much more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new. Man, it's schedule release day. Let's get into this one.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Smash that like button, subscribe if you are new. It is schedule release day, and let's get into it. Let's not even waste a single solitary moment. Let's check out the video for the schedule release that the Miami Dolphins social media team just dropped on Twitter. Let's get into this.
We've carried it all. Good, but not great. Close, but still so far away. Confident, but never satisfied. But when you look inward, dig deeper than ever before. You learn that sometimes the tide doesn't turn on its own. You have to turn it. We're done looking back. Now we charge forward. Forged by perfection, sharpened by adversity, bonded by purpose. Because no spirit can outlast the one that's building beneath the surface.
Meh. I'll be honest. Meh. Really? Come on. You could, I don't know. Meh. In terms of the actual video. You know, like in terms of the video, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. How did you miss? How did you whiff on not making your own version of the GTA 6 trailer? You know, like, to me that's kind of a whiff. I don't know how you, I don't know, you know, like, and I'm not even being picky. That's okay, I guess, you know, but like, let's be real here. I mean, like, it's still meh. Yeah, I'm just being honest with you. Like, how do you whiff? I don't know how. And like, the Chargers did Minecraft. I don't know how you whiffed on not going GTA 6. To me, that was kind of a give me, and it probably would have been hot. You know, like, let's be real here. That would have been hot. And meh. You know, I'm not even hating. I'm really honestly like not even hating on this. I'm not even hating right now. But I did kind of expect a little bit better than that. So, you know, I was somewhat excited to see what they were going to drop. I was somewhat excited to see what it would, like, you know. I mean, because let's be honest, especially on X, they've been hounded for quite some time. You know, they've been hounded for quite some time on X about not really living up to expectations. And that really just felt like a generic, like, you know, you spoke to an AI system, you chat GPT, create a, you know, neon and black night themed with some underwater and some dolphins swimming, create me a schedule release video. That's what that felt like. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, even the graphics of the players, you know, like the robot players that, you know, the NFL on Fox in the 90s looked better than that. And I'm not even hating. I'm just stating, you know. I'm not even hating. I'm just stating. Let's be real here. I'm not even hating. I'm just stating. So, now, I guess let's discuss a little bit of the schedule here. Colts week 1. You know, I mean, when you look at the schedule, you know, they got a handful of primetime games again. Once more, they got a handful of primetime games when you break it down. And they're starting off back-to-back primetime games this year, right? Back-to-back. Which is, you know, ask me if I think that's fun. Now, in the first 4 weeks, you know, weeks 3 and week 4 are primetime games, and they're against division rivals too, right? We got the Bills, then we have to turn around and face the Jets with their you know, with that new quarterback at helm for them. And you all know who I'm talking about, and that's Justin Fields. So and let's get a deeper look at the schedule right here for you guys right here. So, I mean, week 1 on the road in Indianapolis, you know, I got faith in our team to start on 1-0. I think we can handle the Patriots at home, even though they are getting better. And then it gets fun at week 3 and week 4. We got to go at least, you know, they hit us with the double whammy. We got to go to Buffalo, and it's a primetime game, but at least it's in September. At least we're not having to go to Buffalo in December. That said, I mean, we'll get into December in a bit here, but, and then us and the Jets on Monday Night Football, week 4, right? You know, then Carolina. I see, you know, at worst, I see a 4-1 start here. I'm gonna be honest with you. Initial reaction. Now, this is initial reaction because the rosters aren't finalized. Let's talk about it when we get, you know, I'll give real predictions when we get, but, you know, early on, I'm sitting here seeing a 4-1 start. Be honest with you, I think we can, you know, I only see, I'll be completely 110% honest with you. I only see about, 6 games that worry me here? With Buffalo on Thursday Night Football, the Chargers in week 6. But and that's because of Harbaugh. That's not Herbert or anything. That's Harbaugh. But I think, it's at home, so I think we can beat them. And then obviously the Ravens, but that's at home and on Thursday Night Football, so at least we got that. I mean, that's a stretch right there, eh? The Ravens, the Bills, and the Commanders, that's your toughest stretch. Then you get a bye, but then you get to recoup, and you have it. I'm going to tell you, this is the schedule gods are a little fairer to us this year. I mean, we're not traveling to Cincinnati in week 16. We got them Sunday Night Football at home. You know? Now, December, we got to go to New York and we got to go to Pittsburgh. But who knows what Pittsburgh's going to be with their quarterback situation. I mean, this is a schedule where if you stay healthy, I mean, you could really come out, and in those final 6 games, you could come out of there 5-1. And there's a world where, let's be real here, there is a world where you are 7-1 or 6-2 heading into that Ravens game. Now, obviously, you want to be 7-1 because if you lose those 3 in a row, you at least come out of there 7-4. Then you go into the bye. If you go into there 6-2 and you lose 3 straight, okay, now you're 6-5 heading into the bye. And now the pressure is really on with those final 6 games. But, I mean, this schedule is kind of, we can beat the Bucs if we stay healthy. We can beat the Patriots twice again if we stay healthy. We can beat the Steelers if we stay healthy. Really, the Bengals, that stretch of 3 against the Commanders, the Bills, and the Ravens, and then the Chargers and the Bills early on. I mean, come on, look at this stretch. After you play the Bills, you got the Jets, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Browns, and then the Falcons. I mean, you can make us some room there. Now, they are away, but the Browns are a disaster. Y'all going to get, all those people that were really cheering for Shador are going to get put in their place this year real quick on October 19th. I'm going to tell you that much. But, I mean, the road games aren't overly tough this year. I'm sorry. I don't think they're overly tough this year. I think we actually kind of got, our schedules have usually look hard initially, and then by the end of the year, you're like, okay, that was an easier schedule than I thought it would be. This one, usually the last couple of years, those final 6 games have been a nightmare stretch for us. And now we're kind of getting a little bit of help here. And that bye is a perfect spot. If you lose 3 in a row to the Ravens, the Bills, and the Commanders, you're in a spot to recoup right there. And then get everything in order and go back to a somewhat much easier schedule, minus the Bengals game. Now, let's sit here and be honest for a second. Am I overly thrilled that we have 5 primetime games? No, because we know how, but at least the opponents are, I think we could beat the Steelers and the Jets on primetime. I really do. Now, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Bengals, that's a week-by-week basis. That's a week-by-week basis, and depending on the injury bug and what's going on with that. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is a schedule, and this is just me being objective here. And this is a schedule for a coach and a GM to redeem themselves if they can keep this roster healthy. Again, now these are all early projections because I don't even call them predictions because we don't know what the finalized rosters yet. I mean, injuries could happen for any team on this schedule, knock on wood, including us, through camp and stuff like that. So I'm not going to sit here and, go hard on it right now. Pause. But, you look at this early on. I mean, let's be honest. Let's keep it $150 here. Are any of you afraid of the Jets? No. I think we all think we could sweep them again this year. I think we all think, the Patriots are getting better, but we could probably sweep them again this year. It's what's going to happen with Buffalo. Are we going to admit we got a minimum split? You know what I mean? We got a minimum split here. So you got at minimum split here with Buffalo. And I'm going to tell you this much. Find a way. If you can find a way to go into Buffalo in week 3 and win on Thursday Night Football, and you'd already start off the season 2-0, which you should. Oh man, they might run that. They might run those first 8 games. You know, it's all about confidence, right? You build that confidence early on. They might run those first 8 games if they, you know. Let's be real here. You know, we can talk about the players we've lost, but we're looking here at matchups, and you know, this is a favorite early projection. This is a 10 or 11 win schedule if you stay healthy. At minimum, it should be 10 if you stay healthy. Let's be real here. Let's be real here. And you are in a position, and I want people to remember this on May 14th, me talking about this. Because if this works out in real time, you are in a position where if you start off hot, let's say you lose the Bills game, let's say you lose the Chargers game, okay? But let's say you start off 6-2, and then you lose 2 or 3 of those Ravens, Bills, and Commanders game, and you go into that bye now 6-5 when you were 6-2, or 7-4 when you were 6-2. You got a chance to recoup there, and you got a chance to come out against the Saints and Jets and really set that tone again for coming out of that bye and build that momentum heading into the Steelers and the Bengals game and start running it where that you know, man, you know, this is a well-positioned schedule. We've complained the last couple years, especially on the back end of the schedule, of how it's been for us. Yeah, I know we all got PTSD, right? Primetime syndrome disorder, okay? I know we all got PTSD, primetime syndrome disorder over here, okay? And you were all looking at those orange highlights and saying, "Oh my God, we're all in a bad loss in week 3 away from a seizure the next time we have a primetime game," which is the next week, ironically. You know, so, but even in that game, look at least you got an extra, you know, think about that. Think of how much time you have to prepare for the Jets in week 4, no matter how that Bills game goes, right? You've got a week and a half. So, you know, and then even for the Bills coming out of the Ravens bye, Thursday Night Football, again, you got you got a week and a half to get ready for the Bills at home if you do lose to the Ravens. So, you know, and then coming out of the bye, man, they're giving us some layups to build the momentum back up if our confidence is down a little bit. Man, this is just going to be about, and we talk about this every year, what's the motto on this channel? This team will go as far as the offensive line takes us, and they got to stay healthy. And with this offensive line, whether Savaianai, he was talking about, you know, leading with his other side, so maybe he might be playing left guard, I don't know. If Savaianai and, you know, is good in year 1, which I think he will be. If Patrick Paul is competent in year 2, if Aaron Brewer stays healthy, if James Daniels looks more like the guy prior to the Achilles injury than a guy recovering from an Achilles injury, and if Austin Jackson can stay healthy, which I know is a big if because he stays healthy less than Jalen Phillips and Tua Tagovailoa, then this offense might be able to take us some places. This offensive line might be able to take us some places, especially deep into those December months against some of those teams and run the football. So, you know, you look at that schedule, man, it is really friendly on the back end, especially if you stay healthy. Health is going to be our biggest if. From Tua to Austin Jackson to Jalen Phillips to Bradley Chubb to our whole safety room to how, you know, to Cam Smith, who's one of our top corners right now, you know, to obviously the offensive line, to Tyreek Hill, who's had a wrist injury, you know, to that running back room, Devon Achan's, you know, dealt with bumps and bruises. Health is just going to be so key this year. And man, the expectations are low and the schedule is lined up like that. If this team stays healthy, they're going to surprise some of us. They're going to surprise some of us. Listen, I think it's over and done with. I think the bridge is burnt. Now, if the Dolphins say, hey, we don't like what we're getting and we're not paying, I mean, what are you going to do? But it's an athlete's first guy. He's far better chance Tyreek's here, But you look at the way the expectations are lower. They're not weighing on their shoulders like they have the last 2 years. We finally have a schedule that looks like it's worked out for us. Especially, our rough patch is usually at the end of the year. There's usually a 5 or 6 game skid in the final 8 games where you're like, holy crap, they got to make it through that. And then what happens? They start off 7-1, 6-0, and then they hit that skid and boom, get smacked in the face. Now, in 2023, if they would have handled their business against Tennessee, even when they would have hit that skid at the end of the season, because they won that game in Dallas, we would have had the division. But now, what I like in this schedule, and I hate that I even have to think this deep about a schedule, but I know how this team thinks. I know how they operate. I know how they're built. If that confidence goes a little bit in the gutter in that 3-game stretch from the Ravens to the Bills to the Commanders, that bye week is so perfect. And then coming out with the Saints and the Jets, that's the get back on your feet, kid. Get back up. Get back up and start throwing those right hooks and get ready for the rounds when the Steelers, the Bucks, and the Bengals show up. And I think we should beat those teams. I think we should beat the Steelers. I think we should beat the Bucks. Now, the Bengals, they're the same boat we're in. How healthy are they going to be by the time they see us in December? They're the exact same boat. And it's even down to the quarterback. Let's be real. Because Burrow's missed as many games as Tua has. That's pretty much a fact. So, listen, I like this schedule. I think it worked out in our favor. I think this is something to give you a little, okay, in an offseason where we're looking for dubs, this schedule's a dub, right? The draft was a dub. Calais leaving was an L. Teron leaving was an L, right? Jalen Ramsey wanting out is an L. How Tyreek has acted since, from quitting on us to how he's acted throughout that has been an L. Especially with his trade value, L. But this is a W, and this is a significant W right now. Yeah, Armstead's gone. Man, he needs a knee replacement. So he's gone. He's gone. He needs a knee replacement. I think if we were a lot closer, I think if we would have won a couple playoff games, I think he would have tried to, tough it out. It's crazy. 2023 was that fork in the road, If we would have finished that Tennessee Titans game off and this team won their division, whether they would have won or lost, you would have slayed that Bills dragon. And you would have won the division. You would have slayed that dragon. And, the course of events throughout all of 2024 could have been a lot different. It's crazy. When you look back at certain periods in your life or certain periods in time, you can always find focal points that if something went the other way, everything else would have went the other way. And that is one of those forks in the road, those splits in time where in an alternate universe, if we would have won that division, with that Cowboys game after taking care of the Tennessee Titans, man, we'd probably be sitting here with a lot more hope, and 2024 would have been a lot more better because their confidence would have been through the roof. Things could have just gone differently. It's crazy. The NFL has limited our early afternoon home games since Buffalo damn near died. Yeah, look at what they did, eh? They gave us a trade-off. Okay, you don't want to play in Buffalo in the winter? Okay, here's a September game, but guess what? They're coming in November, right? It's kind of like a trade-off, it feels like. Schedule is favorable. Don't fumble. This is what I'm saying, bro. I'm telling you, there's only one tough stretch. It's that 3-game stretch. Take care of business. TCB, baby. Take care of business. Let's go. I agree with Knight 110%. Yes, you've taken some L's, but between this schedule release and the draft, you're getting some W's right now, and they're big ones. We're going to get into what Chop and Achan said, and we've already kind of talked about it. But, you can tell they're getting younger, and that's the way they're going to change the culture. They learned we can't go out and trade and, because Tyreek and these guys we thought we'd bring in, Jalen Ramsey and Chubb, we thought they would change the culture. They didn't. Now it's easier to get, and I hate using this word, but I use it because it's easier. Instead of manipulate, let's use convince. It's easier to convince rookies and young minds who have never been through the rigors of the NFL and the free agency process and all that stuff. It's easier to convince them to buy into your culture because that's all they know. And they had a really good draft for bringing them those minds. Kenneth Grant, Jonas Savaianaya, Jordan Phillips, who's 20, Quinn Ewers, that UDFA class. Which is really strong. From Sanders to Armstrong to Asante, to Weiss. That's a really strong class too, right? To BJ Adams. They brought in a lot of guys that are going to be able, if they hit, they'll be able to change. And that's why I think Kenneth Grant called himself a culture changer, right? So, and now, I don't know, man. I just, I look at this, the Colts, man, you should have beat them without Tua last year, okay? You got Tua. Man, Anthony Richardson, come on. You should wash the floor. Vrabel and the Patriots, that's going to be second game coaching, and you're going to be at home second week of December. Take advantage of the heat, beat them up, right? And you should be able to handle business. And everyone knows I'm a Drake May guy, right? Drake May and Jane Daniels were my guys last year. Everyone knows I'm a Drake May and Jane Daniels guy, but you still should handle your business there. They're not properly built yet. They're not finished. They're about, I think, another 2 off seasons away from you having to worry about the Patriots, but they got to go as good as this offseason went for them, right? And especially that draft. They had a really good draft. So you should be 2-0. The Bills, week 3, Thursday Night Football, in Buffalo. That's going to be a tough one. But then you got the Jets and Fields. The question marks, what are they going to be? Aaron Glenn. I think the Patriots are going to be better in 2 years than what the Jets are going to be. I think the Jets are going to be the bottom dwellers of our division. And then you got the Panthers. What Bryce Young are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that was benched or the one that was after he was benched? They've gotten a little bit better, but still, your roster is far built out better than them. Now, you run into the Chargers. Their roster's well built, and I'll say it. I think Harbaugh's a far better coach. When we wanted McDaniel and I wanted McDaniel, what was I saying? I was saying either if you want a first-time coach, go get McDaniel. If you want a experienced coach, tell Ross to go get Harbaugh from Michigan. So those were my 2 top coaching candidates. Harbaugh's better, man. Then you got the Browns. They're a disaster. Look at that quarterback position. What? Flacco? Shador? Dylan Gabriel? Who's going to... Come on. Wash. What's Penix going to be in year 2 with the Falcons? Right? They kind of dipped at the end of the year and missed the playoffs. Are they going to come out of the gate strong? Or is this going to be a situation where Penix don't look good and they're maybe going back to Kirk? Maybe they're going back to another quarterback. Now I think he's going to get it, but they kept Kirk Cousins on the roster for a reason, right? So you look at that first 8 schedule, and then you get into that Ravens, Bills, Commanders, and then the bye. You look at those first 8 games, man. 6-2, baby. Come on. Let's go. And then find a way to go 2-1 on that 3-game stretch against the Ravens, the Bills, and the Commanders. Now you're 8-3. Going into the bye with the Saints, the Jets, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Bucks, and the Patriots coming out. I just laid the groundwork to a 13-win season. But are they going to stay healthy? Are we going to see progression in McDaniel as a coach? Are we going to see Tua, who was looking like he was getting better against better teams in the second half, i.e. on the road in Buffalo? Are we going to see that guy early on when we go to Buffalo? Right? We're going to need that guy if we want to start off 3-0. Is Tyreek Hill going to be locked in? Is Jalen Waddle going to get back to his 2022 and his 2023 form and look a little healthier? Is the offensive line going to stay healthy? A lot of questions, man. A lot of questions, and that's just the offense, right? What's Chubb going to look like? What's Phillips going to look like? Is Chop going to continue to ascend in year 2? Now, I think that front's going to be disgusting and one of the best in the NFL. You know, I think we already know what we got with Brooks and Dotson, so I think we'll be fine there. And I think they've gotten better with linebacker depth, but that secondary, you know, as big of health is a question mark, and McDaniel's a question mark, and Tua is a question mark, and Tyreek is a question mark, and everything I named on offense, that secondary might be an even bigger question mark. Melifonwu and Ashton Davis, can they stay healthy? Is Patrick Morris going to look like the guy he was looking like in the preseason last year before he got injured? You know, like, and then what's the deal at cornerback? Are we really going to kick out Kohu, find someone else to fill in at the slot, and have Kohu and Cam Smith as 1 and 2 on the boundary? Is that where we're headed? So, a lot of questions, man. A lot of questions. A lot of questions that are going to get answered, but this is a schedule where even with a team with all those questions, man, it's still working in your favor. It's still working in your favor, man. It's like, I look at those first 8 games, and then I look at those final 6 games, and I'm like, at most you should lose 3 games in that span. And I don't even know what the final roster is yet. So we'll see. We'll see. What do we get? That's always going to be the question. What do we get? Now, it's just, you know, as much as we love the schedule release day, the questions it brings, man, they're something. Let me tell you that. So now, for all of you that are looking for preseason, it looks like we're going to be at Chicago, at Lions, and then home at the Jags. And the dates have not been announced yet. So, that's just so you guys know what's going on with that. All right. With the preseason, it does look like the first 2 are going to be on the road. All right. And it does that's what the deal is. So, that, you know what kind of sucks about that is the lack of joint practices. That's kind of going to suck. Right? Like, that's kind of going to not be fun. I will say that. That's not really cool. And for you guys who want to see that, here you go. Just so it's in front of your eyes. Haven't been announced yet, but we're going to be, you know, 2 of the joint practices are going to be in Chicago and Detroit. So that's kind of weak. You know, honestly, I want to go to Chicago. I've been meaning to go to Chicago. I want to go with the fam. So that would be kind of cool. But yeah, just so you go, there is your preseason schedule at the top. They have not announced the dates yet. So the only one in Miami is going to be the Jacksonville Jags. So for the preseason, there you go. They go to Chicago. They go to Detroit. Yeah, I'd love to go to Chicago, man. I heard it's a great city. We got some family out there, some on my wife's side. So, you know I want to try that deep dish. You already know what time it is. But I also want to have one of those Portillo sandwiches. I want to have one of those. I want to have a authentic Chicago dog, but I also want to have those Chicago style beef sandwiches. I need to get me one of those. You know what I mean? I need to try that. And no, I do not want to go. Listen, I'm from, y'all know where I'm from. I deal enough with the winter. I ain't trying to go to Chicago for the winter. It's not happening. Not happening. All right. But yeah, very, 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 very exciting in regards to the release schedule. The release of the schedule. Man, awesome stuff. Love it. Love it. So, and over 400 of you in the room, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Order my deep dish 1 hour in advance. No, the real question is, where do you go? Giordano's or Illuminati's? That's the real question. Where do you go? Do you go to Illuminati's or do you go to Giordano's? Good question. I do not think we get Danny Dimes. That's a good question, though. I don't think we do because they want to see what they have in Richardson. And if they don't have anything, I think they're going to go right back into the draft next year and try and draft something. Scotty said Giordano's. Every noodle says Giordano's is his go-to. Doesn't Giordano's or Illuminati's? I'm pretty sure for all of you Americans, don't they ship their pizzas too? I'm pretty sure they ship their pizzas to you guys. Like, you can get like nationwide shipping. I'm almost positive. Go Panthers. Yes, as everyone knows. The Bills, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the New England Patriots, and the New York Jets, and probably the New York Yankees are my most hated sports franchises. Go Panthers. Jeez. My God. Everyone's saying Giordano's. Everyone's saying Giordano's. No one's saying Illuminati's, man. Let's go. Let's go, man. I tell you. Let's go. Why you got to get me happy, Elvinin? Why you got to get me happy right now? Let's go. God, I hate the Leafs so much. That's fantastic. You know, I think, listen. 4-0 now. Let's go, baby. I love it. The collapse of the Leafs. It's phenomenal. You can count on it every year. It don't matter whether it's the first round or the second round. It's like clockwork. You can set your clock to it. The Leafs always collapse, baby. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal stuff. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, I love it. You know the excitement I get out of watching all the cars in my neighborhood during May or late April, taking down their little Leaf flags out of their little windows and stuff. Oh, man. Now, mind you, during my Penguins dynasty, when we won 3 Stanley Cups and went to 4, in a matter of 10 years, right? I was riding around with my flag heavy out of my car window. So, but the Leafs ain't won nothing. I think we're going to get a Panthers-Oilers rematch. I'm just outside of Toronto. But listen, you guys do not understand. Take Bills fans and magnify them by like 1,000. That's how arrogant these guys are. And they ain't won since 1967 when there were 6 teams in the NHL. Okay, think about that. 6 years before the Dolphins' last championship. But guys, you don't understand. Leafs fans, because the Hall of Fame's in Toronto. Oh, Toronto's the mecca of hockey. And no, it's like, okay, if you want to sit here and go off championships, it would be Montreal. Montreal would be the mecca of hockey if you want to sit here and go off championships, okay? Like, stop. They're just so arrogant. Man, when I go watch my Penguins in Pittsburgh with my brother, you know how many Penguins fans say, where are you guys from? And they find out we're just from outside Toronto. And the first thing they say is, man, we hate Leaf fans. Because Pittsburgh's only like a 5-hour drive from me, 4.5 hours. And they say they get drunk, they get on their bus, they get drunk, they drive down there, and they're just belligerent. And they've always been like that, even since they've been losers. So, I hate Leaf fans. And a lot of my best friends are Leaf fans. I hate them. Can't stand them. Despise them. So, go Panthers. All right? Now, enough of that. Let's stick with, shout out, go Panthers. Go Panthers, all right? Let's not forget. Go Panthers. And for all of you who wanted to see just what it looked like a little prettier, here is your preseason schedule once more. There you go. A little prettier for you right there. There's your preseason opponents. Okay? So, there you go. All right. Now, I wanted to go over this quickly right here for you guys. I got a couple things I still want to go over here. A couple things let's talk about. Number one, all right, the culture on this team. Check this one out. This year's team is way different. Here's why the Dolphins are in the midst of a culture shift. It first became noticeable during rookie minicamp. Players ranging from newcomers such as Ifeatu Melifonwu and Ashton Davis to veterans such as Patrick Paul and Kader Kohu on the Baptist Health Training Facility field on a supposed off day. Talking with coaches, talking among themselves again because it bears repeating on an off day. Something it would seem is changing in Miami Gardens, and after the conversation with several players, it soon became clear what. You can see this year's team is way different than last year's, Devon Achane said Wednesday. The Dolphins are in the midst of a culture shift that will hopefully bode well for the 2025 season. Players have voluntarily been at the facility more regularly this offseason so far. And not only have they been more present, there's been more of an incentive to put in extra work, according to center Aaron Brewer. Quote, everybody's working. We got our little couple of hours in the building, but even after that window closes, people are still around working, Brewer said Monday. That's what you love to see, people putting in that extra time, that extra work. Added Brewer, everyone was doing it last year, but everybody doing it is doing it a little bit more this year. You're seeing a lot more faces. Man, I love that. The culture shift comes after a disappointing 8-9 season in 2024. Not only did the narrative that the Dolphins can't play in the cold once again rear its ugly head, there were questions about players' timeliness and commitment. Quote, I know a lot of people don't want to be here for optional practices, but at the end of the day, man, if we want to get where we want to go, that's where the foundations will have to be laid, Bradley Chubb said January 6th. In life, you've got to sacrifice for what you really want. It's not you got to be here every day, each and every day, but let's start building that rapport as a team and setting our goals for what we want in the future. Fast forward to the offseason, the Dolphins were dealt two big blows. First game, Calais Campbell's decision to sign with the Cardinals. Then, Teron Armstead opted to retire. In less than a week, the Dolphins had lost two extremely vocal leaders. Despite the growing leadership void, one of the main things that McDaniel wanted to accomplish was to instill a new culture in 2025. How do you have a sustained culture? Well, it's by the people, McDaniel said. Later adding that we're trying to get the right guys to develop as professionals, and their core value has to be team football winning, and they really have to get joy out of that. That was a component that was consistent among different personalities we drafted last year. All these guys were living and breathing football. It started early in the offseason as McDaniel regularly met with team leaders, something general manager Chris Grier called cleaning up some little things. Then in free agency, the Dolphins seemingly prioritized players such as Melifonwu or Davis, both of them started sparingly, but were hungry to compete for a full-time job. Finally, in the draft, Grier focused on the trenches with half of the 8 picks going towards physical, tough kids that love football, along with the offensive and defensive lines. Now, early indicators suggest that McDaniel's moves have since blossomed into something that has excited many across the organization. Even second-year players such as Chop Robinson have noticed the change. Quote, just everybody being here, you get to see the team chemistry, the sophomore edge rusher said Wednesday. Everybody just wants the same goal. Everybody wants to be great. Everybody wants to win. The only way to do that is doing it all together. So the chemistry is definitely better than it was last year. With the start of training camp months away, it will take quite some time for these early seeds of commitment to sprout. The NFL season is long and full of mystery, but as Achane alluded, these early workouts can do wonders for team chemistry. If you want to win games, Achane said, this is where it starts. And I agree 110%. This is where it starts. This is the foundation you have to build. And I've already talked about this. They're clearly moving with younger minds because it's easy to get younger minds to buy in than guys who have already been around the league, already had a couple contracts. Some cases like Tyreek and Ramsey already won. And, look at that was a thing Flores did and why we ended up blowing the tanking year because he put too many guys on the roster that were hungry, now wanted to win. And now they're sprinkling that in when they already want to win. So interesting to see how this works out. Very interesting to see how this works out. Finally here, I wanted to talk about something that Mike Greenberg brought up on ESPN, and it was if the NFL should have a draft lottery. Let's talk about this, and I want to show you what he said.
I would like right now to pitch what I believe might be the highest rated show in the history of sports television. Here it is. A TV special where the NFL announces its draft order live. Imagine that. Or even better, you don't have to imagine it. The NBA just did it this week, and they've done it every year since 1985. Football is a draft lottery. It would be great for the league. It would be great for the fans. Literally everyone would watch it. Imagine the 18 teams that missed the playoffs and all of the fans gathered around televisions waiting for the ping pong balls to do their thing and the envelopes to be opened, and Arch Manning is playing the role of the flag. The ratings would be ridiculous. But that's not the reason to do it. The thing about the lottery is it's a good idea. Tanking is a scourge. It is the worst thing in sports. Losing should never be incentivized. The NFL has always strived for parity. It's a great idea. It has served them well. But the trouble is, as their season has gotten longer, the bottom is starting to fall out of that a little. Last year, 10 teams won less than 30% of their games. That was the most ever. 6 of those teams won less than 25%. That's the most since 1926. Teams are throwing in the towel. That's exacerbated by the 17th game. Soon there's going to be an 18th, and I'm all for that. But this problem will only get worse. For example, this past year, the Browns fielded so non-competitive in Week 18. They were 20.5-point underdogs to Baltimore, and the Ravens covered. The ping pong balls are the answer. Oh, and one final note on that. The lottery is not rigged. Come on, people. There is no one with a shred of common sense who thinks that a business worth tens of billions of dollars would jeopardize literally every penny over something so comparatively trivial. The lottery is a good idea because it makes losing less valuable, and it makes for pretty terrific drama as well. It is the best idea that basketball has had in a long time, and it would be, if you will excuse a mixed metaphor, a slam dunk for football as well.
See, I don't agree with this at all, and there's a few reasons. Number one, look at the conspiracy theorists, and let's be honest, it does seem a little fixed at times. It seems like Dallas traded Luka, and the NBA scratched their back, and that's how, that's how they just landed the number 1 overall pick. Okay, like that's number one. Number two, the problem with this is small market teams, right? The NFL right now is the most, you heard him himself. He said they're the most successful sports business out there. So why would they change what's working? What this does is this keeps small market teams down, especially when they don't win the draft lottery. Like, I do not see the benefit of that. You could make the case that the lottery is one of the worst things about the NBA right now. So why would the NFL take that and adopt that? And it's just, I don't know, like the parity in the NFL allows any market to thrive. Like, look at this. Okay, like look at the smallest markets in the team in the NFL, okay? The smallest markets in the NFL, the smallest market are the Green Bay Packers. But if they're in the NBA with the lottery, would they be thriving as much? The Bills are the second smallest market. The Saints are the third smallest market. The Jags are the fourth smallest market, and the Raiders are in Vegas are the fifth smallest market. A couple of those teams are already suffering, being the Raiders, the Saints, and the Jags a little bit here. But the Jags have, because of the way, listen, at least they've been given a shot. Right? Like, look at the shots they've had. They were given the shot to draft. I mean, we can laugh at it now, but they were given the shot to draft Blake Bortles. Remember, Blake Bortles was drafted, third overall. Trevor Lawrence hasn't worked out, but they got the chance to get the number 1 overall pick. Imagine how much worse of a situation they might have been in if they didn't even get Trevor Lawrence. That helps ticket sales, etc., etc. And they're still suffering just because the players haven't worked out, but they wouldn't even have had those opportunities or those chances, is my point. So, no, I do not think the NFL needs a draft lottery. At all. So, guys, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Over 300 of you, over 350 of you in the room right now. Appreciate y'all coming here for the schedule release. I'm going to get out of here. I will be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock with Neil. And then Friday morning, me and Alf, our conversation will be live for each and every one of you. So until then, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Fins up, baby.